Hi folks, welcome to another video in the van build series. This video we're going to be building the battery, coach battery I guess you'd call it, for the van, for powering up the accessories in the back. It's going to be two 12-volt batteries. They'll be built out of lithium iron phosphate battery cells, so 4 cells each, 3.2 volts. There'll be 277 amp hours each, hooked together, so you have plenty of battery power, I think, for what we're going to use it for traveling. Take you on a walk here. Kind of just another video in the series. It's a little bit out of order because I've done a lot of the interior work, which I've done some videos on, but I haven't put that together yet. I'll have that for you shortly. So the batteries are going to go into this trunk area in the back of the van, and that powers up this panel. Most of the accessory items will come from that panel, as well as charging from the solar panels, and the alternator and stuff comes in through that panel back to the batteries. The inverter itself is actually back in the trunk in here. Okay, so let's get started building the batteries. As I mentioned, there are other videos showing different parts of the build and on my channel, so you can check it out. And battery cells have arrived from China. Slow boat from China. So let's see what we got. What I ordered was 8 there we have it. 8 3.2 volt cells, lithium iron phosphate. These are branded as the ETC, at 277 amp hours each. And I ordered them from Zuba, I don't know, electronics, from Alabama. They took a little over 2 months to get here. I ordered them December 22nd, and this is March 5th. So yeah, it took a while to get here, so I knew that was going to happen, I guess. So what will happen next is I'm going to connect them all together and put a small charge to them and top balance them, and probably just leave them sit like that. I'll build this into 2 different batteries, 2 12-volt batteries. I've got a BMS battery monitoring system for each, and they'll work independently of each other together, if that makes sense. So that'll be coming up, just building those, but I'll just hook them up now just to try and get them balanced. I'll check them out, see where they're at right now. .28. 3.28. May that continue. 3.28. Wow, can't ask for more than that. That's great. So we connect them all in parallel. We charge them using the power supply up to 3.65 volts. Shout out to Will Prost. I've just watched a lot of his videos. He's like a rock star on YouTube about these lithium batteries and solar power in general. So okay, set for 3.6 volts, and the current is maxed out. Okay, next day, and you can see we're charging now at just under 11 amps. Voltage has leveled off. It's going to stay there at 3.6 is where I set it. Yesterday I kept track hourly about, it's ranged from, you can see, from 11.4 amps down to just 11.07 over the course of the day, and then this is tomorrow morning. Now we've started again 9:30, so that's, you can almost say, 24 hours. We've dropped from 11.4 amps down to 10.82 amps for a charge rate, and the batteries have come from 3.28 volts up to 3.32. So it's not going to be a fast process, but When you think of the capacity of this battery pack, these are 277 amps each, hooked in parallel. Yet it's cumulative, so that's a lot of capacity. Charging at about 11 amps, so it's going to take some time, and that's okay. I've got lots of other things to do, so I'll just keep an eye on it here. The battery boxes are going to start with a CAD design for just to cut out the plastic from. So it looks something like this. It's be a plastic base. Top and an intermediary layer that I can level, that I can put the BMS onto. Probably become more obvious as I build it. So anyway, just wanted to see where it came from. I guess I should show you too how that becomes a model that we can actually machine. I'll just take out. This is how you can see. You'll see how I'm talking about the two different layers. This is a little BMS that's going to fit in between the two layers, and the wire will come down to where the cells are. I'm going to use a piece of plastic in between each of the cells. This little slot in the middle here is for a temperature sensor to go down, and the bottom is an aluminum plate for heat sink. In other words, I'm going to put a motorcycle handlebar grip heaters underneath the batteries to warm them up in case they get cold. I think that'll work. We'll see. So then, anyways, how that works to machine those parts on the CNC. Let's see. We'll just put that all off. What I do is I take all those parts, then I'll lay them flat, and they start to look like this. So these are all the parts broken down and laid flats with all the slots for assembly. And there's two batteries I'm building, so this is duplicates. These parts over here are actually just those are the vent covers for the heaters. I'm making it out of the same material, so just to be a little more efficient here, I'm cutting that out at the same time. So all of these red X or points that you see here are where I'm going to drill for holes to mount the components to the sheet, so that when I machine them they don't move. This is really slippery stuff, and they're really small parts, so the vacuum table doesn't hold them down very well. Here's just a home-built CNC. This is a sheet of HDPE, a high-density polyethylene, and it's using Mach 3 to run that. So let's see here. First file is going to be drilling a bunch of holes in all the parts, because I've got a vacuum hold down, but it doesn't work very well. I don't have enough volume to hold these little small plastic pieces. So what I do is I take a piece of melamine, which is 3/4 inch melamine, and I vacuum that down to the vacuum table, and then I'll just put some screws into the melamine to hold the pieces. Doesn't matter if these parts have a few extra holes in them, it's not going to be a big deal. So that's how I'm going to hold that down. So I'll start with that. Just using a 3/16 rotor bit. Alright, that's just going to go through and drill a million holes, so I won't bore you with that. I just converted one sheet into a bunch of little sheets. As you can see, we got two piles of pieces that have to be assembled into some sort of a battery case, so that's the beginnings. Should be simple, right? I've also got two pieces of aluminum. That'll be a heat sink for the little handlebar warmers that I'm going to put underneath the batteries here. So to start with, I want to set up those handlebar warmers on the heat sinks, on the aluminum plates, and glue those down and let those sit for a little bit. This is the base piece here. So what I've done is I've cut a chase in the bottom here for the wire to run out. So the wire is going to sit in there, in that little rebate. And on the end, let's see if I can find an end here. Yeah, so the end has a little notch here. So again, has a place for the wire to get out the end. So I'm going to let this glue up overnight. Before I weld these together, every area that gets a weld needs to be roughed up a little bit. So the plastic will stick to it. Okay, that's all the pieces that get welded. Using a Leicester hot air welder. It's kind of a two-step process. The first thing I want to do is go through and tack the joints together with this. And so let's let that heat up while I start assembling things. And then after that's done, then you go through and weld it up with a rod. I'm going to start off with the bases here. Like that, a battery box. Hold it. That one make sure it fits. Fits beautifully, just like it was designed to fit. That's good. While that's heating, I'll do one more assembly. Get this tacked together. This just a straight blade on type tip on there that just goes and melts the two components together and tacks them together in one place. That'll give it enough strength to go ahead and weld it. Alright, well that already has quite a bit of strength. I'll prep the other one too. Went ahead and welded the other one, or tacked the other one as well. And so now we're going to lay some rod down. This will give it a lot of strength. Alright, that's one welded up. I'm going to do the other one and then I'll invite you back. Okay, cool. So it's time to assemble this bad boy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little pad in the bottom here. And I've got terminals out here. I picked some terminals, these up on the interweb. So these are going to go through the box, here, obviously, and then one here. It just had a longer shoulder here, so I just threaded this down so that I'll be able to use all of this on the inside. So there's going to be a right and a left battery. And I want I've left holes in both ends for the wires for the heater, but I want them both to come out the middle so that I can hook up in one location. So I'm going to call this the right battery. So this will go in here, and then we'll feed these wires out. So that hole in the bottom. Stretch going down there. That sits real nice in the bottom of the pack. That's all we need in the bottom. Now, organizing these batteries. Of course, we're going to go in series. This is Overkill Solar's chart for hooking up the BMS, and it's good. So it just shows the BMS going to, say, terminal -1, and then in series through and then back out with the positive going to the terminal. So because of the routing of these wires, they've modified these leads a little bit. So come as a triple because of the amperage, of course. So there's 3 number 8 wires here, and I just stripped them back a fair ways, tied them together and clamped them onto the terminals, and then shrink wrap those. So it's kind of going to sit like this underneath the housing, or underneath the top plate, underneath the middle plate, I should say. It's going to be kind of like this. So I have to organize the batteries in such a way that we want a negative terminal. These guys here, negative is the white, positive is the black. We're going to start with one of these here. This is going to be negative. Negative out. That sits in there really nice. And just to be clever, I actually want the negative out to be here in front of this terminal. Finish up, so I'm going to put 2 in there like that. These have to hook in series across the bus bars, so I'll set one of these in here like so, and then positive here. Okay, that added some weight to our box. So let's see. Put a divider in here. Thick divider goes in the middle. That's what's going to be able to drop the sensor down right through the top. And then one more divider in here. Okay, there we have our battery. See if I can figure out how I did this. So, what I was talking about, the top case cover looks like this. So it's going to go in here like this. BMS is going to sit on top, come through this opening and onto our negative terminal here. It's going to be hard to show you. And then I need to see if this, I can wrap this around this extra wire coming out of here. I'm going to come wrap it right around and come over to this. Oh, sure, I did that backwards. Okay, already I'm backwards. This is actually going to sit like this. It still works. Still works, okay. That's going to go to the first negative. This one's going to come down through and then over to our terminal here. I think that will work. Okay. Bus bars for everyone. You have a little bit of a stretch to go across that 1/4 inch spacer in the middle. I'll loosely put these on. Just a bit too far of a stretch across this 1/4 inch spacer here. You can see the 1/4 inch spacer in the middle that I have for the sensor doesn't quite, the bus bar doesn't quite go across there, so I'm just going to file that a little bit. Alright, you can see I just elongated those holes a little bit. Let's see if I can get the camera a little bit different angle here. Okay, there is a better camera angle. Okay, you can see where we got the 1/4 inch space in here, so I need to bring these together. Pop this bad boy in there. So this guy's going to go in here. BMS around here. It's going to be here. Like so. So these guys here we're going to have to put terminals on. So then I have to put some ring terminals on all these. I'm just going to mount this BMS on that piece of plastic. Couldn't move around so much on me. Now that's stuck on there. I'll do that in a minute. First, I'm going to hook up these wires. All right. It's going to be here. I need a short wire for that. Okay, we built a little wire that's going to go to the positive terminal. This will be a stud that it'll go to. Good and tight. Tidy all these guys up. Torque that properly by feel. Very snug, not over tight. Okay, next up we're going to put this on. stay out. So we route this guy in behind underneath here. It's going to go way over to this terminal over here. That's the next step. Okay, here. Yeah, nice and tight. Well, a little temperature probe has to go down inside there. And these monitoring wires have to come up through. So let's see here. This can go underneath that group. Hook it up. No, I'm not going to hook it up yet. I don't know exactly. Folks probably can't see any of this in here now, but I'm just going to insert them on the temperature probe down in there, down into that slot that I've made for it. Take this little temperature probe in place so it stays down between the batteries. It's bottomed out in that slot. So bring this back now. All that's left to hook up is this. So I think I want to do one more thing. I'll put some foam rod in there. That'll help just take up the space between the two layers. Batteries don't jump around when I hit a bump. I think it's ready to go in. First level. That's in there. Stays out. This stays out. It's down there. Now, some extra hands. Did it. Okay, that's snugged up. Don't know if it's the right order to do these things in, but here goes. That's plugged in. Pretty sure it's complete. All right, are we ready to check? Have we got 12 volts? What do you think? What did I do wrong? Ha! 13.65 volts. Beautiful. 1.65. I have left to do. So I put this in the van. I've got one more temperature monitor that has to come in. I thought I left the hole for. Oh, the hole's down here. I might have to modify that. Put the cover on. I will also build something here to fasten this to hold this nice and tight together. Put a connector on here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and build up the other battery, and then we'll get back together here. Okay, I got the second battery assembled now as well, and what I'm doing is putting these small plates on here to hold the top together. You can see what I did over here. Let me see, show you here. This is just slotted in there, so it holds it vertically up and down and locates these panels. What I want to do now is I just made myself a couple little plates that will go on here and screw right into these edges with some tiny screws, and that'll just, there's not a lot of force on there, but just to hold that from wanting to come apart. So that's what I'm going to do now. Using some number 6 by 3/4, I think they are, screws. Okay. Now, I need to just put a coupler on the end of these. I already have on the supply wire coming from the panel just a little 2-pronged outlet, so 2-pronged plug. Bring these over here, and we'll put couplings on those. A little bit of silicone here just to help with like a strain relief. And these guys are ready to go. Okay, both batteries are built. I just added these pigtails here, which come out from the heaters that are handlebar heater, which is on the aluminum plate underneath the batteries, and that connection will go up to a controller that's in the electrical panel. And back from that controller is actually a temperature sensor, which will drop into one of the battery packs in the center. So yeah, they're going to go in the van like this, side by each. Yeah, they'll go in the back like that. You can see that I put some holes in the bottom of the bases here, and that's so I can screw it down. It's a metal going into the metal trunk, so I can screw it right down to the floor, so it's not going to launch into anything. And yeah, that's about it. Fooling around with the BMS now, I guess, a little bit. It connects by Bluetooth to the Android. I haven't quite figured out how it's going to connect to 2 different Bluetooth so I can control the 2 different batteries. I have to research that yet. But that's the batteries for now. I'll show you once they're installed as well. Okay, I think this will be the final in the battery series. The batteries are now mounted back in the trunk here. It's a little hard to film in here, but you can see they're all wired in. Got the monitoring lead from the Victron battery monitor. And yeah, that's about it. You can see underneath here. Make sure you can see those are the connections for the heaters. So anyway, it's a tight fit, but everything's going to fit real nice. And what I'll do is I'll put a shield in here and in front of the batteries, and then I can use a little bit of extra trunk space that's here. Never have too much space in a van. Okay, so that's it for the batteries. This is the project van. So you can see that we've got the batteries in, and this is the panel now with the batteries in place. See our voltage there is showing 13.3 volts. Amperage in and out is 0. If I turn on the solar panels, I don't think we're going to get anything out of the solar panels. It's cloudy out and late in the day. There's really no sun. Really no change there. It takes a minute. Oh, we're getting 0.75 of an amp charging, so it is actually putting out a tiny bit. And so another thing I'll do is I'll just try starting the truck. See what happens there, and then I just turn this one on. See what kind of charging we get. No change yet. Should automatically switch over and take the alternator power. Oh, there we go. So now we're showing 24 amps it's charging at. So the truck's at an idle 24 amps. That's nice. The voltage actually bumped up a little bit too. It's because it's connected to the van battery, I think. Okay, so everything seems to be working. That's terrific. So that, I guess, will wrap up this video for the battery build and install. And if you're interested in any of the other parts of the build, please check out my channel and have a look. We've got the interior build, and there's a bunch more coming on the interior. I've filmed it, but I haven't put it into, haven't developed it into a video yet. It's really long, obviously, months of work. So I'll probably put that into several parts and add that in a little bit later. So that's it for the battery video. Thanks for watching.